Hi, this is Subpixel. This is just a quick video to show what happens when the DVI output via USB is set as the main display in the Windows system display preferences. So the external display, which I'll just identify here, is number 2. I'll make this my main display, which Windows is quite happy to do, and you can see that I've now got my taskbar at the bottom here. And if I now start Resolume, we're just looking here, we've got the GPU 3D usage is currently basically 0, and the CPU it was a low 20% approximately. So we've got Resolume has started. Task Manager shows that the GPU usage is around 11%. The Resolume frames per second counter is showing that it's basically capped at 60 frames per second. And I can start some content. We can see that the GPU, the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070 is indeed being used. So it's hit now, it's saying around 30% GPU usage, with the frame rate counter still maxing out at around 60 frames per second. And if I actually start the output onto that display, we can see that the frame rate is still around 60 frames per second, and we'll check the usage. So the GPU usage is now running around 45%. So if I go into my Windows display settings and set the main display back to the internal monitor for the laptop, we see that the GPU usage is a little bit reduced at the moment. The frames per second is still under 60, but if I switch to the preview monitor away from the composition monitor, maybe back again. Actually, because I've still got the main output running, kill the main output, and we can see now that the frames per second is running 80 something frames per second. And just check the GPU usage. So it's running around 55% GPU 3D usage on the NVIDIA RTX 2070. And I can run the output back on display 1, which is on the laptop. So we can see full screen on the laptop, not a problem. And the frame rate counter is around about 80 to 85 frames per second. So if I change that back to the second monitor again, so now we're still running full screen on the external monitor. Just need to get my UI back over here. So we can see at the same time we've got the full screen running. Frames per second is around about 80 FPS. High 70s at worst kind of thing. And we can see in the task manager around 60% GPU usage. And we can just check again. Let's just put this where we can see it. Oops. So annoying having to hold a camera and operate a PC at the same time. So if I go again, change the main display to the external display, and straight away we've got the frame rate is back down to capped to 60 frames per second. I'm just going to try it one more time. Set the main display back to display 1. And check again here. So there's something a little bit fruity going on with regards to Resolume frame rate being locked until I change the output. So it doesn't automatically get the best performance, but if you flick the output back to perhaps off or the other screen and then back to the screen you want it to, you can sometimes find a very healthy frame rate improvement. So the suggestion that having the main display set prior to the opening of Resolume making a difference, that doesn't seem to be the case.